Today I'm going to walk from Skipton to Settle. I'm going to catch the train from Settle to Skipton and then walk back along the Dales Highway. I'm going to start today's walk at Skipton Castle. This is the home of the Clifford family, the Lords of Skipton. And if you fancy a pork pie for your journey, that's the place to go. I'm on Park Hill, also known as Battery Hill, just outside Skipton, and down there in the trees is the castle, and I think it was here that Oliver Cromwell had a gun emplacement to bombard the castle, which was under siege with Lady Anne Clifford held up inside. Well, Skipton Castle and the Clifford family were involved in the English Civil War. I'm more interested in the Clifford family and the part they played in a war much earlier, the Wars of the Roses, between the House of Lancaster and the House of York. This war was a Game of Thrones between two rival kings, Henry VI and Edward IV. Well, on the way out of Skipton you've got to walk across Skipton golf course. Seems to be quite a few people playing golf today. The Wars of the Roses started with the Battle of St Albans, where the 8th Lord Skipton, Thomas Clifford, was slain by the forces of the Duke of York. This was something his son John Clifford was not going to forget, and he was going to have revenge. Well, after crossing the golf course, the next waymark is Sharp Haw, which is the hill in the distance. When Thomas, the 8th Lord Skipton, was slain, John, his son, was aged about 20, and this was in 1455. 5 years later, at the Battle of Wakefield, John Clifford, now the 9th Lord, was to meet up with Richard, Duke of York, and his son Edmund, and there would be revenge. I'm on the bridleway to Flasby, but the route of the Dales Highway is going to take me over the top of Sharp Haw in front, and then I'll leave there and rejoin the bridleway later. Almost at the top of Sharp Haw now. Won't be long before I get there. Here we are, the trig point on Sharp Haw. And a view across into the Yorkshire Dales. Oh, just some statistics while I'm here. I've done about 3.5 miles since leaving Skipton Castle. I've done about 1,000 foot of ascent, and the temperatures are pretty cool, 10 degrees Celsius. Certainly with the wind, it's feels cooler than that, but hopefully we'll have a dry day today. Well, I've now rejoined the bridleway to Flasby, which can't be too far away, and a bit of sunshine and some blue skies ahead. The Battle of Wakefield took place outside Sandal Castle, and for some unknown reason Richard, Duke of York, decided to leave the safety of the castle and engage the Lancastrian forces outside. this was a mistake. Richard, Duke of York, was slain, and one of his sons, Edmund, Earl of Rutland, was captured, leaving the battle. Was the death of Richard, Duke of York, revenge enough for John Clifford, or did he want more? At this point, before I start to descend into Flasby, I'll take a look around, just look back to see where we've come from. It's a fine beast. If you believe Shakespeare, John Clifford executed the captured Rutland. He was aged 17, though I think Shakespeare makes out he was much younger. This act earned John Clifford a nickname, the Butcher. And thank goodness the paths have been very wet and boggy underfoot on this stretch, and we're not at Flasby yet, but we're on a lane here which should take us there very shortly. After the battle, the head of Richard, Duke of York, was severed and taken to York for display, and it was displayed on Micklegate Bar with a paper crown upon its head. This victory was short-lived though, and it's not the end of the story. 1 year later, things were going to turn out very different. The eldest son of Richard was to proclaim himself Edward IV, and he was to meet the Lancastrians at the Battle of Towton. I've done 5 miles and I've just arrived at Flasby. Hetton, 2 miles. In 1461, the bloodiest battle ever fought on English soil took place at Towton between the forces of Edward IV and Henry VI. Edward was backed by the forces of the Earl of Warwick, the Kingmaker, and the battle proved to be disastrous for the House of Lancaster. But the story of John Clifford, the Butcher, ends the day before the battle. I've now arrived at Hetton. I've done just short of 7 miles. From Hetton we pick up a bridleway to Weets top, and this finger post has it 4 miles away. Prior to the Battle of Towton, the forces of Edward IV were at Pontefract Castle, and a advanced party of troops had been sent out to secure the river crossing at Sharp Bridge. A skirmish at Sharp Bridge took place, led by John Clifford and his troops. As I climbed the bridleway out of Hetton, I can look back across to Sharp Haw. Oh, this is quite a comprehensive finger post. I mean, we've come from Hetton and we're off to Weets top, but I think this is actually on the route of the challenge walk, 1 foot in the Gargrave, and this is the turn you often miss. You've got to go through that gate there. Anyway, we're on towards Weets top. I do feel now that I'm in the Yorkshire Dales, as the scenery opens up. Or just as you get to the top of one rise, you find you've still got more ascent to do. We're not at Weets top yet. Well, I can't be too far from Weets top now, and I'll just take a look back towards Sharp Haw and Skipton. Well, finally I'm at Weets top, and the trick point is just hidden there next to the dry stone wall. Well, this is the trig point at Weets top, and some statistics. I've done just under 11 miles. I've done about 2,400 foot of ascent. Well, we're now going to leave Weets top, go to Hawthorne's Lane, and then walk down to Gordale Bridge. Well, my temperature sensor's reading 11 degrees Celsius, but it's very windy and it's making it feel very cold. Certainly my hands are cold, but it did try to rain earlier on. But I do see some blue skies ahead. Out of the wind at last, thank goodness. Kind of sheltered on this road down. As I walk down Hawthorne's Lane, I start to see the limestone scenery of Gordale. Now, if my memory serves me right, there should be a nice green van at Gordale Bridge. Well, off to my right is Gordale Scar, and there's quite a few people here who will take a walk up there, but that's not the way we're going to go. Right, Malham Cove. If you ever do the 1 foot in the Gargrave challenge event, that's the lung busting ascent on the route. Thankfully we're not going up there today. I'm looking back at the lane I've come down and up towards Weets top. Nearly up Malham Cove. Let's get a view of this limestone paving at Malham Cove. Well, as I leave Malham Cove, I've done 13 miles and my next destination is Kirkby Fell. Well, this is Cove Hill on my right, and we're going to head up here towards Langscar Gate. I think that flower there is a field scabious. Well, that's a view back. And we have a way marker here and a finger post to Langscar Gate. Whatever the merits of the skirmish at Ferry Bridge, it was to cost John Clifford dearly. on the way back to Hetton, he was ambushed and killed, being hit with an arrow in the throat. As I head over to Kirkby Fell, if I look back I can see Malham town. I'm almost at Kirkby Fell now, and there's a finger post for the Pennine Bridleway, so I assume that the Dales Highway and the Pennine Bridleway paths coincide at this point. Well, indeed, that is Kirkby Fell over on my left hand side, and I'm gonna head onwards towards Settle now. I've done just over 15 miles and I shouldn't have much more than 3 miles to go. I'm at Stockdale Farm now, and I'll take one last look behind me to see where we've come from. It's time to leave Stockdale Lane now and start making my way to Settle, 2 miles. It looks like there's somebody abseiling from the rocks up there. I'm not sure what this metal is here. Possibly targets. And this looks like it's had holes ripped through it with shells. It's quite impressive rock scenery. There's quite a few caves marked on the map up there, and they're the Gordale knots. I've just clocked 18.5 miles and I'm now getting a view down into Settle, so I haven't much further to go. Well, there's a drop down into Settle. If I look across, I think that's a view across to Ingleborough, and if I was to carry on along the Dales Highway, that's where it would take me. Well, I've had another good walk today along the Dales Highway. The section from Gordale Bridge over to Settle, I think that's been a really nice section to walk. I think the walk has certainly been tougher than the first section I did last week. There's certainly quite a bit more ascent on this second part. I'll be able to show you the stats when I get down into the town, but I suspect I'll have done about 19 miles ish. It's been rather chilly today. Certainly the breeze and the wind has cooled me down. Certainly felt very autumnal. Ambient temperatures have ranged between 8 and 11 degrees Celsius, but it certainly felt much cooler. Tried to rain a couple of times, but didn't really amount to very much. I've had a travelling companion with me today, Mr. Snodgrass, and he's dressed in the livery of the Lords of Skipton, whose badge is the Red Wyvern. Now, for you Games of Thrones fans, I've got a question. Are the Targaryen beasts, are they dragons, or are they wyverns? Is Daenerys the mother of dragons or the mother of wyverns? Grace and Perry may have Allen measles, but I have Augustus snodgrass. Finally arrived, settled.